welcome back to the channel. My name is Angie, and today we're going to be going over how to create your own 2025 cash stuffing setup. So let's hop right into it. I have my notepad right here, and the reason why I'm making this video is because I just made my 2025 setup and I did a few things this time that I feel like could be useful. So let me go ahead and jot down some ideas here. So when you do want to make your 2025 setup, you want to consider a few things. The first thing you want to consider is your income. The first thing you want to consider with income is, will you be cash stuffing your entire paycheck, or will you be saving some to put to the side, whether you want to save it for taxes or to pay off a card, to not stuff your bills and just kind of pay it automatically from an account. You can do that as well. So what I would suggest, if you're a first-time cash stuffer or you kind of just want to redo your setup, maybe try doing only a portion of your income and just kind of reserve that for cash stuffing, and then the other portion you can kind of like keep in your bank. You can move it to wherever the heck you want. You can pay your bills from there. That's personally what I've seen work the best, but again, personal preference. Some people do cash stuff their bills just to make sure they have it for each month. So it's really up to you. Another thing you want to consider with income is how many envelopes are you actually looking to have, because the more you have to cash stuff, the more envelopes you're able to cash stuff. So like for me, for instance, some weeks, you guys have seen the previous videos, I've been trying to complete my 100 envelope challenge. So I've been doing less cash stuffing in other envelopes because I don't work on such a high income. When you do have a higher income, you can probably hit every single envelope each week. You don't necessarily have to. The next thing you may want to consider is your income that you're putting into your envelopes combined, and are you going to combine envelopes? And what I mean by combine is sharing it with your significant other, your partner, husband, boyfriend, whoever it is. Now, I'm not going to spoil too much because I want to make a video on this, but in 2025, I do plan on combining my income, which will allow me to hit more envelopes, and I was able to actually create more envelopes for my setup. So when you combine your income, let's say that you have $100, and then let's say that your significant other is putting $400. So you have $500 total to cash stuff. Those envelopes that you're putting your $100 in, are they going to be just for you? Like, are they going to be for your hair, supplements, only your stuff? Or is the $400 your significant other is going to be putting in going into his or her envelopes? Or are you guys going to be sharing the envelopes? There's a lot to consider. Me personally, I think the way that I plan on doing it is my portion of it will probably be going mostly toward my envelopes, but also when you look at the bigger picture, there's going to be a lot of envelopes that we're sharing. Regardless of whether I'm putting my money in there or his money in there, we're both going to be sharing those envelopes. So we've kind of worked it out in a way where most of my income, since I'm making a little less than what he's bringing in, I would be putting toward, maybe things for my Etsy shop or for my haircuts, my personal spending. But his portion of the money, which this is just an example, but his portion of the money would be going toward our shared envelopes, his personal envelopes, a lot of our business and savings, because that's kind of the goals that we're looking toward. The next thing you want to consider once you figure out the income and the envelopes is how much are you looking to save? Now, when it comes to saving in specific categories or just doing savings challenges, you can use a tracker. So let me show you a quick example. These are two trackers from my shop. So let me just do this one first. Let's say you want to plan a weekend trip somewhere, and that's going to cost maybe $400. When you use a savings tracker, you want to think about how long it's going to take you to complete it. So this tracker, for instance, has 20 icons. So you could do it in 20 weeks or less. It would take you probably a maximum of 20 weeks if you do it consistently. Now, if you want to save up for this weekend trip, and let's say it's totally fine to be taking 20 weeks to complete it, you would set it for $400. You want to save the $400. There's 20 icons, which means you have to stuff $20 every single time. Now, let's say your weekend trip was a lot sooner than you expected. You would still have the 20 icons and the $20, but if you want to kind of speed it up, you can add an extra 20 each week to make it $40 a week and fill in 2 icons at a time. The reason why a tracker like this is good is because it reminds you of how much you need to stuff each week in order to successfully meet your goal, but it's also a fun way to save, and it just keeps you organized, keeps you on track, and it looks super pretty. So it's kind of a win-win. Now let's say you're just trying to have an extra $300 in your pocket. This is my $300 savings challenge. This one's a little different because it has just the same amount that you're stuffing for each week. Not different than that one, but different than other ones you may see in my shop. For instance, my $500 one has like different icons on it, different amounts each week. You can kind of mix and match them. But for this one, you're stuffing $10, 30 icons. So that means that you would need a maximum of 30 weeks to complete this challenge. Again, you can always shorten that if you do more icons per week, but I've been using this in my dental visit envelope, and it's something that I did have 30 weeks to save for. Actually, it might be a little less, but I might have to speed that up. But I will have the $300 by the end of the 30 weeks, and it just reminds me of where I am so I don't have to constantly take out the money and count it, even though I do that anyway because I make videos, but I don't have to count the money always. I don't have to guess and check. I don't have to, forget, oh, how much do I need to stuff in here to save the amount I want? I have this tracker, I can fill it out, it's super pretty, and it fits in the envelope. So I just wrote down these 2 notes. How long do you have until your deadline? And then how often are you going to be cash stuffing? Are you going to be cash stuffing once a week, once every other week? Those are just things that you can kind of pull out a calculator and figure out because it's situational. So I just wrote that down as a note. And then the next thing you want to think about is what's actually going to be your physical 2025 setup. Are you going to be having binders? Are you going to be doing this all online? Are you going to be using prop money? That's what some people do. Me personally, I like to use binders, so I'll kind of show you what I have going on here. This is my old setup. So I have a nice little dashboard. I've labeled my binders high priority, low priority, try to keep it organized. And then I have my envelopes here. So I use matte vellum primarily. I find really good success with it. If I have some savings challenges, I like to put them in the zipper envelopes, and that's totally fine with me. For my 2025 setup, however, I do have some new matte vellum envelopes. It is quite a thick stack, and I'll also be introducing another binder into my setup. So you might be asking, why do you have, 3 binders? The reason why is because of a few things. The first thing, I like to keep things organized. That white binder is going to be my business binder. The second reason is the more envelopes you have in a binder, the more you cash stuff them, the less room you have, and then it actually makes it almost impossible to close your binder. So the more envelopes you have, the more categories you want to save for, you're going to end up probably using multiple binders, which is totally cool. I mean, there's some people who use up to like 6, 8 binders, and that's what works for them. If you don't want to put that much money into this venture, you don't have to have 3 envelopes. You don't even need to have you don't need to have 3 binders. You don't even need to have 1 binder. You can literally use paper envelopes, or you can find a different way to organize your envelopes. It's really personal preference, how much you're willing to put into this. All right, and then I just wrote down a few notes here. So if you want the binders, if you want the envelopes, saving challenges, kind of like what I was showing you before, they're a super useful way to stay on track of your goals. And then cash planning sheets, I don't have one near me right now, but they're kind of just a way that when you go to the bank, and this also includes teller slips, that's how you kind of get the denominations you want. So let's say you want to stuff $25 into an envelope, you would literally write down the envelope, how much you're stuffing, and then the type of bills that make up that $25. So obviously a 20 and a 5. By the end of the sheet, you calculate all your denominations, you give the teller the slip, and they give you the correct denominations you want. Placeholders, I'll show you a quick example if I can find one, which I should be able to. Okay, so I'll show you, for instance, this one. This is from my friend Maddie, and this means that this envelope here is fully funded. I don't need to cash stuff it anymore. This is considered a placeholder, but I'll show you kind of what I mean for other placeholders as well. So let's see here. I have these 2 placeholders. These represent money that are already in the bank. So eventually envelopes are going to get really, really full, and you're not going to be able to stuff cash into them. And also, some people may not be comfortable with having that much cash on hand, which is why you use placeholders. So I moved $1,300 into the bank just so that I'm able to count this cash and make sure I know the total amount that I have, whether it's in the bank or in cash. I use these placeholders to kind of tell me. They're kind of like fake money, if you want to think of it that way. And then obviously you also have your fully funded to show you what's fully funded and what's not. That's something to consider. Again, not necessary, but it is something to consider. And then the last thing I wrote is a high yield savings account. So when you do move that money into the bank, you want to think of where you're going to be putting it. I personally use a high yield savings. I also have just normal savings accounts. Sometimes I like to keep it organized that way. But if you do want to collect interest each month, the more money you put in, the more interest you're going to get back. So it's up to you. I started using Ally Bank. I don't have a referral code or anything like that, but I did link it down below. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. You can make the buckets. So let's say I move $1,300 from my 100 envelope challenge. I can make a bucket that says 100 envelope challenge and then put the 1,300 in there. It's still the same account. You're just basically labeling it as if it's an envelope. And that's kind of all that I have for when you're planning your 2025 setup. These are just a few tips that you can think of when you want to start your cash stuffing or if you want to kind of redo your cash stuffing setup. So you want to think of your income, how many envelopes you're going to be having, is your income going to be combined, and how are you going to delegate that income, whether it's yours or your significant others, or you're just going to mesh it all together. How much do you actually want to save? How long is it until your deadlines? And how often are you going to be cash stuffing? Again, you can use trackers like these to help you out. And then your physical products, obviously binder, envelopes, saving challenges, having a cash planning sheet or a teller slip, placeholders, and having a high yield savings to put it all there. That's pretty much all that I have for you today. If you have any questions, please drop them down below. I'd be more than happy to answer and help you make your 2025 setup. I actually do have a cash stuffing bundle in my shop, which comes with up to 9 custom envelopes if you are looking to have some of these envelopes. And it also comes with a binder like this and also in black. And it comes with placeholders, savings challenges, zipper envelopes, everything you could possibly think of for having your own cash stuffing setup. So if you're interested in that as well, I'll also have that link down below. And yeah, so I had so much fun with this video. If you liked what you saw today, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!